Hello, you are with me, the voice of ability for persons with disability. United Nations statistics estimate that over 600 million people live with disability globally, and over 400 million people live with disability in Africa. 40% of Africa's population are made up of people living with disability. 10 to 15% of school-age children in Africa live with disability. Ghana's population is over 32 million, and 8% are people living with disability. How does this impact on persons with disability in terms of policy formulation, marriage and family life, education, healthcare, employment, and so on? For those of us in the disability community, discrimination and stigmatization is the root cause of almost every challenge we face. However, success only comes to those who know how to overcome their challenges and not those who know how to avoid challenges. So join me, the voice of ability and for persons with disability, as I navigate my way through the riveting stories, the unbelievable experiences, and the life-transforming journeys of persons with disability on the Helping Hand TV show. Hello, you're welcome to another exciting episode of the Helping Hand TV show, where we seek to show the spotlight on the abilities of persons with disability. And like I say, you're welcome. Welcome to my world where disability is not inability. Special thanks to DV Unlimited Company Limited and Fast Chapel, my proud sponsors. We are at the Orthopedic Center at Nsawam. My new role model, a lady I want to share with you, an incredible woman, an amazing woman. Thankfully, she was the special guest of honor at the prestigious Christina Hackman Impact Leadership Awards. I'll go for a break. When I come back, I'll bring you this amazing interview. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are with me, the voice of ability on the air for persons with disability. And today I want to introduce you to someone with so much ability. Some people call her the greatest friend. Others call her the sweet companion. And others still call her the faithful worker. She is dependable, reliable, and adorable. And she's committed to lending you a helping hand anytime, anywhere. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome DV Cleaners.
DV Cleaners Alata Samana Shower Gels. DV Cleaners Aloe Vera Shower Gels. DV Cleaners Body Lotions. DV Cleaners Hair Shampoos. DV Cleaners Hair Conditioners. DV Cleaners Liquid Detergents. DV Cleaners Hand Wash. DV Cleaners Floor Cleaners. DV Cleaners Toilet Cleaners. DV Cleaners Cake Soaps. And now introducing DV Cleaners Hand Sanitizers. For bulk purchase, call us on +233 278 308 246 or +233 244 467 326. DV Cleaners, one of the top most made in Ghana products. DV Cleaners, proudly Ghanaian.
And so remember that anytime you purchase any of the DV Cleaners range of products, you are lending a helping hand to a person with disability, and you are supporting H4P Organization's special advocacy for persons with disability. DV Cleaners,
Nature's finest touch.
Welcome back.
Previously on the Helping Hand TV show.
I have told people how impressed I am because it's so broad. You touch many, many different aspects of lives of the persons with disability.
Yes.
And so when you said you wanted to come here, I thought, well, great, because now he sees another aspect.
Yeah.
We're all at different stages.
Yeah.
And I guess what I was touched by was that we all can do the part for the persons with disability that we can do well.
Yeah.
And if we all do that, then life will be wonderful. And it's unfortunate that we have to fight prejudice and discrimination.
Yeah.
But, I do have hope that there'll become one day when this is not our fighting issue. So I was very happy to meet you too.
Thank you. Apart from all the many things I've come to fall in love with you, the children, I realize you have this special heart for the children.
I came from a family where children were the utmost gift of God. And so a child was treated well. A child was given all the opportunities that we could give. My mother had a great love for children. There were only 3 of us, but she and my dad were mom and dad to many of my cousins. And so we were raised with a large extended family. I think it's more of a natural thing that I was raised of, that children are precious, and you sacrifice everything for a child. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, welcome back to the Helping Hand TV show. This is the special edition. We are at the Orthopedic Center at Insawam, and I'm going to have an interview with the director, Sister Elizabeth Newman. I've learned so much. I've seen so much. I'm amazed, and I know you would also be amazed. Enjoy it. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. I look at the work you do here, and it's phenomenal. Whilst we're going through the various classrooms, the workshop, and all that, I was thinking, you've been doing this for 50 years. You've been helping humanity. I read something about you that you are a humanitarian by heart. And I said, well, I've met the woman. It's not just her heart, it's everything. Her mind, her speech, her smile, everything. How do you get the strength to keep doing this for people?
Well, I think I have a strong belief in God. I believe that everybody has gifts, and everybody has to use the gift. And, what I was telling the children the other day is that, when you die, what do you want people to say about you? Do you want people to say he was the richest man? He had 20 cars and 50 houses and 20 wives. Is that what you want to be known for? Or do you want to be known that you were a good person? You didn't have a big house, but what you had, you shared. That's what I think we should strive for. I'm not saying people with 20 cars and all this are not good people, unless they don't share. But I think we have to use whatever gift God gave us and do the best, so that when we leave this world and you stand before your Creator, you can say, I tried and I loved. And that, to me, that's all it's about. You don't have to be a brilliant person. You don't have to be a rich person. You don't have to be a beautiful person. But there's nothing wrong with C's. And, just who you are, you try to be the best of that. And you're not going to be like the next person. If we're going to keep comparing ourselves, we're never going to be happy. You are who you are, and try to be the best of that person, and be human.
I keep thinking about funding for the things you do, because you virtually would let no child come and be turned away because they don't have money.
No, they can't.
I've heard several stories of you telling them, bring the person, we'll treat the person for free, bring the person. And I'm wondering, how is Sister getting the funds to do all this?
Well, we when we had our 50th anniversary, I said at that point that we had depended a lot on outside sources, and it was time for Ghanaians to stand up. And I said, look at them, these are your children, they look like you, not me. And so since that day, we've had a large group of Ghanaians who are either groups or churches or even individuals that will come and donate mostly food items, which is great. Because then we use the money that we have to help the children. We do still depend on outside resources. I occasionally put appeals together for something specific, like we need specialized wheelchairs. About 4 years ago, Latter-day Saints gave it. Yesterday I was discussing, we need those wheelchairs. We have to find out how to get funds for that and how to get them in the country, because the cerebral palsy community is growing by leaps and bounds. And, and I'm like, it will happen. It will happen. And I keep telling the staff, when we get donations, they're meant to be given out. They're not meant to say, "Oh, sister, you have so much in the bank." That's not it. And if we're selfish, we're not going to give. You know, we have to give out. And, you know, there are days when I think, are you too generous? You know, when I said, well, yes, let's do that with that child. And then I'm like, oh, my God, you know, but it'll come in. I know it will come in. And so I have to take that risk and pray. And, you know, Brother taught me one thing. You know, when he was in charge here, everybody always asks the same question. When something happens to you, what's going to happen to the censor? Yeah. And he always had that same answer. If God wants this work to continue, he will send someone. Yeah. If not, we have put thousands of people on their feet. Yeah. He always said the same thing. And so, and I believe from a long history, I don't come from people with money. My family was lower middle class. We had enough to eat. My father worked hard to support us, but we weren't like privileged, you know. So I just know that people, if you present yourself to people and they know it all goes to the children and that you can account for it, I think God will provide. I really do. And I have people that really, you know, one time a group came, and this group has come a long time, so I knew them well enough to say, I love what you're bringing me, but why don't you ever bring me a check? and they said, because we have been burned. We've given checks, and it goes to the director. And I said, as long as I'm the director, this will never hit me personally. It goes for the children. And so some people do bring checks. But I understand, because I look at TV also. And I know I was horrified once when I saw this group of children, how they were treated. And you saw this donation come in, and then at night they showed you this man putting all these things in the car, bringing them to his store in Tama. And I'm like, how can you do that? I couldn't do this. You know, and how can you do it? These are children, dependent. And, you know, I don't tolerate a lot of things. I don't tolerate the children in any way being abused. They know you can never strike a child here. You can never threaten a child, because when they say, I'll beat you, I said, you shouldn't say that because you can't do it. And what you have to learn is you never threaten a child what you can't do. And so don't tell him, because he knows I'm not going to let this happen. And also you don't yell at him. You know, that's and they'll tell me, I'm not yelling. I'm like, well, you're talking loud. You know? So, I mean, it's a long process. Because when I first came, this was one of my first experiences. I don't know much about canes, because we didn't have canes in the States. I mean, they did later on, but never my generation. And so there were canes, and there were teachers. And I'm like, what are they doing? You know, particularly if these little kids, they would come out and they would walk and exercise in the grass, and you're going to have a little boy that has to pee, right? And so then they're going to get on, and I'm like, why are you getting this kid? It's your fault. And so I tell them, before you let 4 or 5-year-olds, because we had young kids with polio, you make them all go to the bathroom. So you should be caned. Well, they brought me into the director, Brother. And I felt sorry for him, because he was between a rock and a hard place. And they try to tell Brother that sister doesn't understand Ghanaian children. And I'm trying to say, if this is what is appropriate, I will not stay here. And so he's thinking, oh my God, she's going to leave. Or if she, you know, she might stay, but they're going to leave. So he was trying to be very political. So he said, why don't we try Sister's Way and see how the children react? You know, and that's how it was a gradual thing. That, you know, I always say, my mother always said, you talk to children. And there's no bad children. You know, but there are other ways. You know, I was sharing also that last week, I was really proud of myself, because about 2 months ago, I bought little pairs of different color fish in the aquarium for the children. And I walked in last Thursday, and I see my aquarium empty. So I called one of the ladies in the back, and who cleans the aquarium, and I said, Vincent, what happened to the fish? She said, they're dead. And I said, they're dead? And she said, I said, they were alive. Yesterday, she said, somebody put oil in the aquarium. I said, okay, fine. So I went to the children and I said, can somebody tell me how this happened? Well, right away they named this child. And I'm like, no, you know, we're not going to tell on each other, but if you did it, geez, please come see me. Nothing's going to happen. I just want to talk to you. Well, and I said, until that time, there will be no television. And if it goes past next Saturday, I remove the television. So 2 days ago, I was walking and this little girl comes and holds my hand. I'm like, yes. And she said, I did. No, she said, I'm sorry. And I said, oh, let's go sit down. So I said, are you the one that put that in the aquarium? No. And I said, what did you put in the aquarium? And she said, oil. And I said, well, can we tell what happened? And I tried to explain to her the fish need the air and, you know, you block the fish from breathing. And I said, can you promise me you'll never do this again? And she says, okay. And I said, well, thank you for telling me that's very, but I know she really didn't tell me. I thought she told me, but then she told me she didn't do it. But then when I asked her how she did it, she told me. So, you know, that what good would have been to cane that child? Tell me. You know, or to scream at her. You know, because then she'll never tell me again if she does something. But this way she knows it wasn't nice what I did. The fish died. And, you know, I hope she won't do it again. I don't know if she would. But so I think there's just different ways. And I think, you know, some people say, well, you know, when they go back, it's going to be different. I'm like, but they have that glimmer. I was somewhere where nobody beat me, nobody disrespected me. I was treated nicely. And maybe they will treat their children like that. You know.
Sister, the good work you are doing here, and most people haven't heard much about it.
I don't know why. We've been on television. Thousands of people have come through this place. I guess, as I said to you before, when you need us, you'll start asking and you'll know. Because people call, somebody had a child there and they said you took care of him, could I bring my child? Or the hospital told me to bring the child. You know, so I think the word has to get out by experience. I was there. And this is what happened. And so maybe you could go there and they could take care of your child. So, I mean, if your program can spread the word that there is a place where you can come to at least have the first consultation and we go from there. You know, because what we try to offer is, you know, if you need surgery, we'll put you on the list for these doctors who are coming. Because they will do surgery either in Joyal and Quanta in Bronahafa, and Georgia or St. Dominic's. And these will be cheap surgeries because the doctors won't charge. It's only the hospital. And most of the times it's no more than $3,000. And so that's why I put you on the list so that you can go there. And again, if you don't have the $3,000, we're going to pay it. But most people can come up with that. You know. So we offer that service. If you need physiotherapy, we offer that. You come here and we do the physio until you're ready to get an appliance. Or if you need an appliance, you can come be measured. You know, so it's like we try to be holistic. You know, we try to help them to understand that life isn't over. We have a group come that we've worked with. England is really supporting that. They come and talk to the amputees every month. They go to the hospitals. They bring in specialists to come in and say, like, for example, a big thing after amputation for a man, that maybe his wife left him. Or maybe for a woman, you're not a whole person anymore. I mean, I hear all the stories. And so they bring people in to say, look, it happened to me. This is how you can get through this. Or they have other problems, you know, that as an amputee they have. And so they get some encouragement. They support groups. That's what they are throughout the country. They have support groups.
All right, so you are still with me, the voice of ability and persons with disability. This is the Helping Hand TV show, an amazing series we are running with Sister Elizabeth Newman. Let me go for a quick break. I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Success is a product of hard and wise work. Here's 60-second success with the bishop. Stay tuned.
Welcome to 60 Seconds Success with the Bishop. Today, I want to speak to you about an important success ingredient called the law of progress. The law of progress is your decision to take a step forward in every area of your life. Your decision to take a step forward in every area of your life. Success is a milestone that is achieved after continuous struggles, hard work, pains, motivation, failures, and repeated efforts. Success, my friend, is a journey made up of failures and successes in life. And those who never see success are those who decide to stand at one place in life, those who refuse to progress. If you really want to be successful, then you have to take a step forward. You have to decide to progress in every area of your life. Every day, make a determination to take a step forward in everything you do, and success will be yours. Thank you. All those who contribute to H4P through our mobile money system, thank you so much for helping us do this job. God richly bless you. If you are not yet part of those who help H4P through the mobile money system, I think it's time for you to decide to be a help to the Helping Hand TV show.
You can also support H4P in bringing dignity to disability. Give today via our MTN mobile money on +233 596 313 338. The name is H4P. You can also send your donations via bank transfer. Fidelity Bank Ghana Limited, Rich Towers Branch, Accra, Ghana. Account name is H4P Helping Hand Project Fund. The account number is 20900 308 70805. You can also visit our website H4POrganization.org for more information. Thank you, and God richly bless you. H4P, bringing dignity to disability. H4P, perfection is our passion.
Welcome back.
Why do some families fight? They resist the amputation. They don't want it.
No, some of them do not want it.
Why?
Maybe they think they're not a whole person anymore. I don't know, like that young boy.
Okay.
That young boy, I felt bad for him because he said my father never has agreed, and he went through a lot of suffering for those years. But I was happy that his father came with him finally, and he agreed. But then I'm wondering, well, maybe his father was afraid because of the money. Because we had never seen this kid. And maybe if he had come here and said, this is my child's problem, and we said, well, if it's a financial problem, don't worry about it, he would have come earlier. I don't know. But a lot of parents find it hard to make a decision. Like Kobe's mom, she was a very young mom. Her decision was Kobe was born without a tibia in both legs. So without that bone, you can't stand. So the option for the mother is you amputate and give them a prosthetic, or you decide to keep them in a wheelchair the rest of their life with crooked legs. That's a decision. That's okay. It's not, you're going to be condemned. But I know it was very painful for her to make that decision. But she did. I mean, I was with her when he had the operation. And they came out, and that's a big decision. You can't put it back. If you say, I changed my mind. But look what he has become.
The prosthetics is better, right?
The prosthetic is better because a wheelchair is going to confine you. And it's also going to limit your where you can go. You go in a wheelchair in a lorry. Even sometimes they won't even pick you up if you have a wheelchair. So an amputee, you can go a lot of places. And you can get along well, and you can work, and it's in a way it's not the stigma from crooked legs. And sometimes that's also part of the discussion. If you decide to keep the legs, people hear something's wrong. If you take the legs off, you can always say it was an accident.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to say, you can say it. But it's a hard decision, and I can understand as a parent that's a big decision for a child. You know, but they do all right. I mean, they manage. They're resilient.
They get more independence.
They're very independent.
Yeah.
They get on the school bus in the morning. I mean, he goes to school with another friend, a little friend of his that's here, Emmanuel from the north.
Okay.
He has 2 legs off. The same problem. Zach had 2 legs off because he had no tibia. He's at St. Peter's Secondary School now. They can manage.
Okay.
You know, they learn young, like Kobe, this is part of who I am. You know, I remember when he was a little boy, little baby, I was reading with him one day, and we were reading about the parts of the body, and I wasn't sensitive to realize he didn't have toes, and I was saying toes. And he looked down, he said, I don't have those.
Wow.
And I said, no, you don't. But one day you're going to have artificial toes.
Wow.
You know, but then it grows with him. I think he was like 1.5 years when he had his amputation. You know, and that's better.
Okay.
Because then they are not like these amputees that walked fine, and then because of an accident or diabetes, now they're older, and it's much more difficult for them.
Let's talk about that, because it looks like there's not much education about the fact that I'm told most of the amputees is diabetes and the Okada problem.
Diabetes is a lot, and motorcycle accidents.
That's surprising.
If you would go ask all the young people there, it's motorcycle. Ask all the old people, it's going to be diabetes. And what's sad about the diabetics is sometimes they'll lose one leg, and then 2 years later they're back with the second leg. You know, it's how did they control it? You know, how did they understand it? You know, they don't understand the starch turning to sugar in their body. They don't understand that. I've tried to talk to them, and the older people will say, my grandfather, they always talk about their grandfather ate, and I kept saying, but your grandfather walked from village to village. Your grandfather had his farm, and that's where he ate from the farm. He didn't go to KFC. Your grandfather didn't sit in the car or behind the desk. So your grandfather got away with it. But you're not going to, because you don't exercise very much. You're eating all this other stuff, you know, and it's turning into sugar. And, you know, it's a hard sell for the older people. Because they don't believe it. Because Grandpa, he never died. He didn't die young. And I said, well, Grandpa, it's different than you. You know, and I thought, say, you have a wealthy country's illness right now. You know, and you're taking all the bad things from what they call the developed world. But it's a serious problem in this country, a very serious problem.
And the motorcycle issue?
Oh, motorcycles. I tell you, when I'm driving, I'm like, oh God, I hope I get home safe without killing anybody. Because they come on both sides of you. And they don't have helmets. And when I see mom, dad, and 2 kids, I really have a fit. But the younger people, it's motorcycle accidents. And for the children, a lot of children, we were told, they were on the side of the road, a motorcycle knocked them down, and they lost their leg.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really a problem.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think the country has to deal with it. You know, I've been to Nigeria, and I thought, oh my God, you know, these people are crazy the way they drive it. But when Ghana is just like that now. You know, no matter where you go, they are, many of them. And I'm always afraid that if I don't look before I turn left, somebody's going to zoom past me. And that's what happens.
I think they use the motorcycles to avoid the traffic.
I guess they do. And they're young. This is fun, I guess. I don't know. I've never been on a motorcycle. But I think it's, you know, you have the speed. You can get past things quickly. You know, I wonder how many, I'd like the statistics, how many of those poor women that are selling on the streets get knocked down? I'd love to know that, because I'm there and I'm like, oh my God, you know, if you're not fast and careful, they're going to hit you. You know, so that's something I think the country has to cope with. It's not only, I don't know what the laws are. I hear that you have to have a license. Okay, well, that's one good thing. But I'm sure you have to wear a helmet.
Definitely.
I'm sure you're supposed to stop at red lights.
Yeah.
I don't think any of that. That doesn't happen. I don't think you're supposed to go in and out cars like that.
Yeah.
You know, so there are a lot of things I think you should not do.
Okay.
And I think it must be illegal.
Yeah.
But nobody stops them
Yeah.
until they're lying down and somebody's dead or maimed.
Yeah. Sister, you mentioned the issue of cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy, oh yes.
What do you think could be the cause?
I don't know. Some, there's all kind of reasons for cerebral palsy. Some is a birth delay. If there's a delay in birth, you lose oxygen, and you can be born like it. There's also high fever.
Okay.
There's also accidents where the child hits the head.
Okay.
I think a big problem is there is a lack of education.
Okay.
There's also the problem that a child that has cerebral palsy needs a lot of attention, and it's not a quick fix.
Okay.
And I think people get very discouraged. We could have 2,000 people, if I would say we're taking cerebral palsy children, because most of them want a place to put their child. And I understand it, but I don't think it's right to remove it from the family.
Yeah.
Abraham, who you met, we only have Abraham with us in the children's department because he was found on the road.
Okay.
I mean, one of our staff members went down at 9 o'clock. She thought his mother had him sitting there to go get a taxi.
Okay.
When she went back at 3, he was still sitting there.
Oh.
So the men brought him up. We called social welfare. We called the police. They came. He had no indication of any kind of physical abuse.
Okay.
He was well cared for. He was not malnourished. He couldn't talk, couldn't walk, can't feed himself.
Wow.
So the social welfare came after 2 days and said she was having a hard time placing him because of cerebral palsy.
Okay.
And she mentioned one place, and I said, no, I won't send him there. And so I said, we will keep him here, and we can see what we can do. And as I said, it was only last year that he got up and walked.
Wow.
I mean, people worked with him, but not to the extent that he just got with Abraham. So now he's walking around. And now we're trying really hard to get a speech therapist to help, because he's bright, to get him to be able to even tell us his name. We have no idea what his name is. We called him Abraham.
Wow.
So, but he takes a lot of time. You have to watch where he walks.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't want to go to the special, the cerebral palsy daycare, he won't go. He decides what he wants to do. And so you have to be very careful with him that somebody knows where he is.
Okay.
And keeps an eye on him and works with him. Yeah. Like the teacher, the computer teacher was a special computer and foot things for him. So he will do that, and then he can make letters.
Okay.
And that's his communication. But you would have to have a tremendous staff, and you'd have to have not only qualified but committed.
Yeah.
Because you see, a lot of them are incontinent. And for some reason, Abraham is not. And Abraham can go to the bathroom. But many of them are in diapers. And that's fine when they're 2 years old. But when they're 22,
when they're old,
to have people that are willing to take care of it. It's a great need. And I wish Ghana would have, some institutions like we have in other countries where they are given therapy. They are taken care of.
Okay.
They are developed to their highest potential.
Yeah.
And they're not completely separated from the family. But we're not privileged to do this.
Yeah.
And parents, the moms, I feel sorry for. And that's why I said we started this program for medication.
Okay.
I mean, I was trying to do some calculations this morning about how much a month are we spending? How long is the money I have going to last for that? But I see somebody asked me, well, what's the result? And I said, well, I can show you 3 pictures of children who are in school now because the medication has helped them.
Yeah.
And, then I'm thinking to myself, did you do something wrong? If you start it, you have to continue. You can't say to a child, no, I'm sorry, now you can go back to convulsions. So I was thinking this morning, how am I going to make this fund secure enough? You know, and I know I can't go out and say we're going to give medicine to everybody, but from the ones we have, you have to be able to sustain that. You know, and the mothers are doing their part. They're taking them for the doctor every 3 months. They're going to buy the medicine when you send the money. They're keeping up with you. You know, they're doing their share. And on the side, they're trying to make a living to take care of this child. It's extremely difficult, you know, but it's a big, big, big problem. Really big.
Another big problem for me is I look at your passion and I'm thinking, how would you transfer this passion to the people who work with you?
Well, I think for the people who work with me, they know me quite well. And they you know, I get really kind of happy some days when one of the staff will come to me and say, Sister, I was in the market and I saw this child and I told him to come. Can we help him? And I'll say yes. Because then I feel, oh, they got it. They got it. We can help this child. We'll manage. You know, so some of them do it like that. We had an old lady with us during the COVID that one of the staff came and said, Sister, there's an old lady that is always on the side of the road. And I think my mother knew her. And I don't know if your mother knew her, but anyway, we went and she had one little room, no water, nothing. And so she couldn't walk. She had broken her hip and had never had a care. So we brought her here. Charity was her name. And we took care of her, and she would come around in the wheelchair with the children, which was nice. They had a grandma. And she was with us 2 years, and she passed away. But at least we felt that she had very comfortable living. I hired a caretaker that was with her at nighttime. And she would always get Ellie once a week. She would say, Ellie, this is the day I get my foo-foo. And he would go out and give her foo-foo. You know, so it was the little things. And so, but it was the staff member that called my attention. And so I think for most of them, they do have that compassion. Unless they couldn't stay here. They couldn't stand me. You know, because they know I won't tolerate anything, you know, like that. You have to be very kind and, you know, don't start yelling at somebody. You know, I mean, it always drives me crazy. And they do it in the hospitals too. You know, they yell at somebody that didn't come on their appointed time for review. And I'm like, well, they're here now. You know, stop yelling at them and do something. But so I think, you know, it gradually, and they're working very hard, day in and day out, for these people who they love, because otherwise, why would they do it? They can get other jobs. You know, they're qualified. He can go make those shoemakers could be private shoemakers and make a lot of money. You know, but they're here.
We'll be right back.
Is the music segment on the Helping Hand TV show.
Yes, you are the mighty warrior, defender of our people. We call on you today. Hallelujah. Jehovah is your name. Jehovah. Jehovah is your name. You are the mighty
Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much for staying tuned in. This is all time would allow us, but I promise I'm going to bring you the continuation of this episode next week. Before we go, let me say special thanks to DV Unlimited, Company Limited, and Fast Teach Up, all my proud sponsors. And special thanks to you for tuning in to your favorite show, the Helping Hand TV show. Special thanks to all those who contribute to the H4P organization through our mobile money system. Thank you so much. Your support, your contribution goes a long way to lend a helping hand to us as we lend a helping hand to the disability community. Well, if you are not part of those who help us by donating to H4P through the mobile money system, prayerfully consider doing so, because it will go a long way to help us. H4P is 14 years old. We thank God because we have so many more years ahead of us and we are making impact in the disability community. Remember, I'll bring you a continuation of this exciting episode next week. Until then, remember, disability is not inability. Take care of yourselves and God bless you.